Hello. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for spending some time with us on your Wednesday, whether it's lunchtime or the morning. We're very, very excited to talk to you today. We've got some slides to share. I think Rishik is backstage and right on cue. Look at that. Although we've got an infinity mirror. There we go. Boom. Thank you so much. So, we're going to talk to you today about how to use first-party data in your CRM at a couple different critical phases of the student and acquisition journey. We're going to talk about the point of acquisition, the moment of acquisition, the upstream pre-acquisition leverage of that first-party data, and then some of the things that you can do downstream of that acquisition. We had intended to have three incredible panelists, well, two incredible panelists and me. It was going to be me, Pat Van Gorder. I'm the president, head of growth at Level. Enrique, who will introduce himself, and Stephanie, who was going to be our rose between two thorns. Unfortunately, due to last minute and unavoidable scheduling constraints, Stephanie is not with us today. We are super bummed. We are sure you are as well. We have been given sort of the stamp of approval to speak on behalf of Stephanie and the StrataTech team. And if there are questions that are specific to Stephanie, we'll make sure she gets them and gets back to you. So she sends her deep regrets, but you are stuck with the consolation prize of me and Enrique. Who the hell are you, Enrique? Tell me about yourself.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Pat. And hi, everyone. So I'm Enrique Dutra, Director of Product Marketing at LeadSquared, and obviously really excited to be here with all of you today. A little bit more about me. I joined LeadSquared earlier this year after spending the last, 11 years in Silicon Valley, where I work with everything from early stage startups to large tech companies, always focused on bringing B2B SaaS products to market. What gets me, most excited is connecting the dots between marketing, tech, and business outcomes, especially when we can turn something like lead data, for instance, into real world and measurable results. So, really looking forward to diving into how we have done that with StrataTech, Level, and LeadSquare, and how first-party data can help you hit your enrollment goals faster and more efficiently. Before we start, just wanted to give a quick shout out to Richik, who is running the show on the backstage. He's responsible for all the slides and is going to be helping us today. Awesome.
Thank you, Rishik. And yeah, you'll hear us say next slide and then next slide or back forward. And Rishik's got the thankless job of trying to keep pace with Enrique and I as we jump around. So from an agenda perspective today, we're going to start with just sort of a state of the state as far as what are we seeing in the impact of AI on the student journey, and why does that matter to you? Enrique is going to jump in and talk about LeadSquared specifically and talk about how that platform is becoming even more critical in a world that AI is making more and more reliant on smart uses of first-party data. The section that Stephanie was going to handle on multimodal benefits of StrataTech, of how StrataTech uses LeadSquared for nurturing and follow-up. We will breeze through that. We won't have quite as much content as we had hoped as a result, but we can answer questions there. And then Level and me are going to talk about some of the upstream benefits of using first-party data from LeadSquared in some really smart ways in the acquisition space. So that's kind of the agenda for the day. We have some time at the end for questions, but if you have questions now or as we go through the content, throw them in the chat. Hi, everyone. Can you see me? There's the chat. Throw us some love in the chat as we're going. And if you have questions as we're going, please do drop them in. We're going to be monitoring, keeping an eye on that, and are happy to keep it conversational and pull questions sort of forward as they come through. Let's rock and roll. So As I mentioned, I'm going to take just a couple minutes here and talk a little bit about how AI is impacting the student journey. If you want to go to the next slide. So, we're going from a world, I remember, 10, 15 years ago doing presentations about how the student journey was longer than ever. And there were, 40, 50 plus websites that students were visiting, and they were using Google or they were using Bing as sort of their self-help desk to be able to navigate the complexity of what their educational outcomes needed to be. What we've moved to very quickly, and the adoption stats are off the charts. Whether you're looking at Chat GPT's faster than ever path to a billion users, or Gemini's and Google AI overviews path to a billion users. We are seeing a takeoff on the usage of answer engines for how students are navigating the ecosystem of information that's available about your brands and your schools online. And what that means in practical terms is searches that used to be, I search something, I visit a website, I search something, I visit a website, are more and more frequently ending up as zero-click searches. So, here's a quick, sample. This is from, real GA data that reflects what the search journey was. But, somebody started with, how can I become a medical assistant? Longer form query than usual. And they didn't click anything. They read through this, presumably they read through it, and then they searched for, where can I get online degrees, get an online degree, and then they clicked one of these blue links here. Increasingly, that sort of journey where 60%, by some estimates, 60% of searches are not resulting in a click, are becoming more and more prevalent. So it's more and more difficult to anticipate when you will have sort of those moments of direct interaction between an anonymous visitor and your brand. Go to the next slide. Education is actually even more exposed than many industries. Not surprisingly, just by virtue of the solutions and services that we offer, our search terms are frequently longer. One estimate 85% of search terms for education-related keywords are sort of defined as highly likely to be included in AI results. So 85% of your searches could end up in an AI results AI overviews format, like the one that we just saw in that prior slide. That's a big number, and it's right up there with health and entertainment and real estate. Health and real estate, especially being considered purchase. Entertainment being a great example of something where people are not actively searching to try to fill out a form or request more information. They're literally seeking information about a product or entertainment show or movie or whatever. So we're in a category in education where there's a lot of weighting towards the types of search terms, informational and question-based, that are more likely to be disrupted in this AI ecosystem. The upside is, and the upshot of all of this is that what AI is actually enabling, and enabling through tools like LeadSquared, is the actual delivery of the old promise of right student, right place, right ad, right price. This is a phrase, this is terminology we've used for years. It's always been hard to consistently deliver at scale. But this environment is actually creating the tools and the capabilities for us to be able to do that. I won't read through each of these in detail, but you can see on the left side here, each of those dynamics, and then the delivery mechanisms for right student, right place, right ad, et cetera. These are live, active capabilities. This is not, future, oh, wouldn't it be cool when this happens? These are things that Level Agency and our clients are doing every single day, powered by tools like LeadSquared. So the question that we often get is, what is the value of an agency uh, in a world? And you could insert, marketing services partner. What is the value of an agency or a managed service provider in a world where, the AI is changing everything? And we break it into three categories. Just very quickly, this is a build, so you can step us through, Rishik. The first is to manage client business context. So, what the LLMs and what the internet knows about you is not necessarily the same things as what you want them to know about you. So it's reliant on your agency partner and your, managed service providers to understand strategically what it is that you're trying to do, the dynamics, the business model that drives your business. Ultimately, make sure that that is being translated to the right schema and format to drive that result, to align that result with the LLMs, whether they're the consumer-facing LLMs or the tool LLMs. There's a great part in the book Nexus, talking about the alignment problem. And the alignment problem in AI is defined as hoping for one outcome, but rewarding something else. How many of us are hoping for one outcome, whether it's, students in a specific category, or, at a specific acquisition cost, but we're rewarding something else because we're, rewarding just straight conversion volume or something like that. You can build. The next area where we add value is connection to platform value. So, putting the pipes together with partners like LeadSquared to bring the best of what they've created um, to bear for you as our clients. So ultimately, sort of the thinking about the agency and, other partners as the plumbers that are connecting the pipes and connecting the dots with critical technology and infrastructure. And then finally, creativity and configuration decisions. If you think about, the two critical inputs that, that any AI tool needs to be successful, it needs to have, a great concept, a great idea, great, creative solution for what we're trying to do. It can help you define that in some cases. And then configuration, think of configuration as effectively like the way that you prompt the engine. How do you configure your data? How do you configure your business context? How do you configure what you're trying to do in such a way that gets the outcome that you want and overcomes that alignment issue? So we broke this into three sections, and Enrique is going to talk next, and we're going to sort of use this sort of upstream, downstream format. And then LeadSquared, obviously, as the tool set that we're going to be most focused on, kind of covers all of it, and we've put it right in the center. But Enrique, tell me a little bit about, what, how LeadSquared thinks about and fits into that, this brave new world and moment that we're at.
Perfect, Beck. Thank you. Thank you for the overview. This was really insightful. And I don't want to take any credits from you. It was your idea to create this graph to illustrate, the partnership. And I think it's very useful and helpful to understand from a visual standpoint. So think of this graph like a relay race in our partnership. Okay. So Level Agency is the first runner here you see on the left. They get the audience ready and bring in all the clicks. And then right at the green line here, that's the handoff. That's where LeadSquare steps in. We instantly capture every lead, whether it's a call, a form fill, or even an inquiry, and we make sure that the data keeps moving. And further down the line here, you'll see StrataTech, and they are basically the proof that the system actually works. Obviously, I have a slide showing, the outcomes with all the numbers from this partnership. But for now, let's just focus on that green zone where we, LeadSquare, take over and how the data we collect there helps, lower cost per enrollment on platforms like Google and Meta, for instance. We can move to the next one. Thanks, Richie. Okay, so first, let me give you a quick overview on LeadSquare. Our product suite was built, for the, I would say, 5 things that schools tell us they need the most. The first thing is the speed to lead. So whenever a student raises their hand, you've got minutes or sometimes even seconds to respond. And we make that automatic and obviously really, really fast. The second thing here is automation. We're talking about email, SMS, phone, reminders. So it's all connected, and we make sure that no leads falls through cracks. Then, obviously, which might be arguably one of the most important parts, we have data. So with LeadSquare, you get simple dashboards that shows where inquiries, applications, and starts really come from. And the fourth component we have here is the ease of use. In my personal view, if your team needs, weeks of training to use a product, the tech never gets really fully used. So we really focused on the UI and UX component, making super clean, intuitive for everyone to get up to speed in a matter of, maybe a day or days, the most. And the last thing here is cost. Schools want results without paying for a giant platform that they only use, 10% of it. I'm not going to name anyone, any competitors here, but that's the idea. So because everything is happening in one place with LeadSquare, we capture a ton of clean and trustworthy data, first-party data, and that's the field that we use to supercharge, paid media. So we can move to the next one. Thank you. Okay, so here, let's talk about how those, key steps turn into useful signals. First, we capture, as you can see here, every important moment or milestone in the student journey, like when someone or prospective students, they ask for information, they apply, or even when they make a payment, and we save all this as first-party data. Then we engage and follow up right away, adding, open and click data that tells us who is leaning in, who is becoming more prone to convert. And then when a prospect student finally converts, like maybe they paid the application fee or attend orientation, we send all that information in their AI score directly to Google and Meta. Richie, I think I'm getting some background noise, if you don't mind muting yourself. Uh, Richie, would you mind? Oh, thank you. Okay, so we were at the analysis part. Okay, so then we allow the school to analyze the whole journey in just one unified dashboard. So both marketing and admissions teams can see the same data. So the main point here, the core idea is that everything flows out in real time. There is no complex coding or complex data extraction. That's what lets the ad platforms bid for starts and not just a form fills, for instance. Okay, we can talk. We can move forward. Thanks, Richie. So we can talk now a little bit more about predictive scoring and how it works. So whenever someone or a student shows interest, the system will give them a score from 0 to 100. And this score is based on simple things like how far they are from campus, what keyword they searched, whether it was, a branded search or not, and even what time of the day they came in. And that score gets sent back to, your platform, Google or Meta. So those platforms can focus on leads that are more likely to turn into actual students, more likely to convert. So instead of looking only at short-term signals, we are now, as LeadSquare, providing a full, 90-day view of the complete student journey, so we can learn which leads actually enroll. And the results is that the admissions team, they spend less time on leads who are not a good fit and more time with the ones who are ready to move forward. So we're basically making things more cost efficient, and also you can argue that's also faster. And the best thing about this is that over time, with, the more data you send back, the better the system gets at finding the right students. Like I said, faster and more efficiently. The more data you have, the more understanding of all the students and their, behavior you have. Okay, so now as promised, let's talk a little bit about the actual results. What the partnership between Level, StrataTech, and LeadSquare brought in terms of numbers and the benefits for marketing and admissions teams. So StrataTech, as you can see in the first box here, they cut cost per enrollment by 24% and increased leads to enroll by 72%. And I think, Pat, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was in under 8 months. We have to double check that, but I think it was under 8 months, so in under a year.
Yep.
And was it 8 months? Under 8 months? Okay, perfect. And we're also able to launch, new conversion signals in a matter of hours, not weeks anymore. And that happened because the marketing team could handle all the data directly without needing a big development or dev effort or getting IT involved, raising tickets. Everything happened in a more seamless way. Um, Also, the third thing here, the fourth thing here is that now only one shared dashboard is able to show the full picture, from ad spend all the way to student start, for instance. So marketing, like I said before, marketing and admissions teams are working from the same data and are in the same page. There's no silos anymore. They're working together. They have more, a room and understanding for better insights and to have a complete and grounded and connected strategy. And just to highlight, obviously, this last box here, everything is running on a secure and compliant foundation. So that keeps, legal and IT teams also comfortable with everything that's happening. Perfect.
I think Enrique, we'll get if you can go back one slide, Rishik. In the meantime, we'll get into a little bit more detail on this when we get into the upstream story. But I think that the headline is um, Level has worked with a lot of different lead management and CRM platforms, and what Enrique and his team have built really is, best in class in terms of ease of use for these types of applications and extensibility for these types of applications. So it's really exciting, to see and to be able to tell, even without Stephanie here, some of the StrataTech story as one of the many stories that we have together, where we've found ways to provide that business context, that first party business context, using the privacy safe, SOC 2 compliant, FERPA and GLBA compliant tool that is LeadSquared in the center of all of it.
Perfect. And also on the level side, I believe you guys analyzed, and there was a huge leap from your side over 2 years of historical data. So that's also a big to understand the student behavior, the main attributes. I think this makes all the difference. I wouldn't say it's cleaning up the data, but it's using the data in a really smart and effective way.
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out, right? Is
Yeah,
the oldest saying in data activation, right? So, but one thing that I think brands get wrong, actually, I've talked to brands that feel like they need to do a major exhaustive, consultant-led database cleanup and overhaul before they implement a tool like this. And they're waiting because they know that they've got, not great data consistency. Sometimes they wait to implement, a tool like LeadSquared or use first party data in marketing until they've got things perfect. I would say don't do that. I think that's a big mistake. There's ways to sort of step incrementally, entrepreneurially, with, in a collaborative way, with your IT team and with LeadSquared and with, an agency like Level, where maybe we don't try to, overhaul and bake everything historic, but we set up a clean, consistent path forward for new leads or for the last couple of years. Don't wait to have everything perfect because it will never be perfect.
Yep. And just taking a step back here, technology aside, just thinking about the core principles of marketing and sales, I would say the number one rule of marketing is to know your audience. And that's what data actually is a way for you to understand your audience, to understand their behavior, their attributes. You base everything, and now getting back to tech, on product marketing, sales, even the company strategy. You always base in an ideal way in your customer, what they're looking for, their needs. So that's how you create, a successful product strategy or a successful sales or marketing strategy. And cleaning up the data, having the right data at the right time, this is, I would say, the most fundamental principle to get things right in anything that you're doing. Like I said, this extrapolates just marketing and sales, goes to product to technology. If you know exactly what your audience is looking for, what they need, who they are, you are much more likely to succeed in whatever you're doing. So I think that's the major strategic play that you guys had in this partnership, is to getting the crucial data in front of everyone, not just LeadSquared, but also StrataTech, to come up with a really refined marketing strategy, which I think it went really well. The numbers won't lie. So
Yeah, that's right. Okay, next slide, Rishi. So I will just quickly say that what Stephanie, as Senior Director of Marketing at StrataTech, has done is definitely a best-in-class implementation from a nurturing perspective. We were going to talk, I know she was going to talk about sort of multimodal nurturing across email, text, social. There's heavy personalization elements that are done across, all of those, including video, including direct mail. And she has done a phenomenal job. That team has done a phenomenal job with partners, including but not limited to the level on that front. She's not here to tell you all that great stuff, so I'll give you that headline, and then we'll move on. But to go back to the relay race, which, by the way, Enrique, that's a great metaphor you dropped on me. I didn't even have it on my radar. Coming out with the relay race metaphor is strong work, my friend. But I think to sort of take the metaphor to its natural conclusion, a tool like LeadSquared and an agency like Level that is doing that acquisition work up front is still only running the first two-thirds of the marathon. It's still ultimately on us, once we have a prospect in our ecosystem, to make sure they get what they need from an information perspective, from a contact perspective with your admissions team, or we give them what they need. And the worst thing in the world that you can do is spend a lot of energy and focus higher up the stream and not make sure you're closing effectively downstream. So that was, I think, what Stephanie was going to share, but much more eloquently than I was able.
I think you did a great job. Couldn't have said it better.
So if that's the downstream, the finish line, and we've talked about sort of the tool set at the moment of acquisition. I'm going to just double click a little bit on some of the capabilities that Enrique started to talk about around upstream strategies. Go to the next slide, Rishik. So I think the headline for us is the way that brands are going to be competitive in the future is they're going to tap in to what we've called the $1 trillion booster engine, which is the billions and billions and billions of dollars that have been implemented by platforms like Google, like TikTok, like Meta, in data centers, in large language models, in general AI capability, to create the most impressive, most predictive marketing predictive engine that has ever existed. So if you are not thinking about how to use your data and your conversion signals to tap into that incredible capability, and you're still thinking about things in terms of what keywords do I buy or what audience do I want to get in front of, you're missing the story of the last 5 years. Next slide. that story is, I think, best encapsulated in this mindset shift that, we are advising our partners to make and are using tools like LeadSquared to power. It's the idea of going from ROI-driven segmentation as the lever to drive ROAS to something else, which don't click yet, Rishik, because I want to talk about this for a second. Anyone that has been in marketing for for any period of time, has a strong opinion on segmentation, audience segmentation. Enrique said his number one rule of marketing is to know your audience. The extension of knowing that audience has often been, well, if I know my audience, I can draw a circle around them, I can draw a little box around them, and I can try to, to segment them and segment the most profitable, most, retained, most successful segments of whatever audience I'm pursuing in a way that allows me to, to use that strategy, the segmentation, the hyper segmentation strategy to drive ROAS. I remember building landing pages 12 years ago that where we were targeting, we were running a meta campaign, and we had a different landing page for the audience that we thought liked American football versus the audience that we thought liked baseball versus the audience that we thought liked soccer. And it was a product that was not relevant to those specific products or those sports specifically, but we were trying to tap into the affinity of a segmented audience and trying to leverage something, something that we thought was an insight to, to better convert that audience. What AI has made possible is the next step, Rishik, going from that ROI driven segmentation to broad structures and value-based conversion signals. So instead of trying to carve out inefficiently, here's my little circle over here, here's my little circle over here, the optimized value signals of the entire universe, pull that in. So maybe your target audience is 25 to 34 year olds that are looking for educational opportunities outside of their existing that are unfulfilled in their existing roles. In the past, if you had targeted that little segment at 25 to 34, if somebody was 35, but maybe they started school a year later, or they were a little bit further behind in some critical way, they're just completely excluded from the target, right? Because they didn't meet that one piece of the criteria that we used in our segmentation. Now, platforms like Google, like Meta, like LinkedIn are able to say, hey, this person, even though they're 36 or 23, they look and they behave a lot like this target audience and segment, and it might make sense to actually put an ad in front of them at a critical moment. You can understand why that would be more efficient than trying to sort of hyper segment and missing the opportunity on that person. So, that's the theoretical value shift. We've done this very successfully in collaboration with StrataTech in a variety of different ways. The example that we highlight here in our upstream story is PMAX. I would love if anyone in the chat would love to share, would be willing to share their current perception of the value of Performance Max for education. We'll give folks a second. If any brave soul would be willing to share their perception, I'd love to shout you out in the chat. We'll give it a second and see if anybody does. I know what you're going to say, so if you don't say it, I will. You won't get the juice of getting shouted out on this super exclusive 2-person webinar. Anyway, what we have heard so many times, Performance Max has not been a good tool in education, and that's true. When it was originally launched, it sucked in education. It just did not perform well. There was a lot of fraud. You could drive a lot of clicks, you could drive a lot of conversions, but ultimately they were the wrong type of conversions. Level and StrataTech retested that a few months ago, or about a year ago now, And we were able to use that conversion signal approach that we talked about on prior slides to go out and tune the signal using LeadSquared as the pre-scoring hub and passing that information into into PMax and other tools like PMax in an anonymized way. We were able to go out and target more um, higher converting leads in a tool like PMax. And that allowed us, that plus value-based bidding allowed us to ultimately drive really, really good results. If you go to the next slide, these are some of those that were, that were referenced earlier by Enrique, but it drove a 24% decrease in cost per enrollment and a 72% increase in lead to enrollment rate. And it made PMax essentially perform as strongly as non-brand search. And that first party data and the technology to handle that first party data in a privacy safe, careful way, and in a best practice configured way with the ad platforms was the secret sauce that allowed us to do that. That's all the content that we have. Like I said, we're a little bit we're short our superstar and Stephanie, but if there are questions, we are happy to take them. Who's got some questions for us?
In fact, while we give them some time to maybe write some questions, I just wanted to add something to the AI component that you talked about.
Sure.
I feel like it is a great approach, to tap into the, like I said, the millions of dollars spent on research into, OpenAI, Google, Meta, everyone. But I feel like after ChatGPT was launched, what, 2, 3 years ago, I feel like a lot of people started to think of AI as LLMs. Oh, I have a huge question here, but people also forgot about a lot of things that were being done before LLMs, like machine learning, for instance.
Yeah.
And while LLMs are great at, analyzing data, summarizing things, even breaking down structured data to structured data, they're not great at capturing those signals, for instance. So what we do with predictive scoring is more on the machine learn side. So let's say we analyze and we capture the student behavior connecting to different platforms. And this is still something that, ChatGPT and other LLMs are not able and not even made to do it. So I want people to think about AI in a more in a broader way from just LLMs. There is much more than we have data lakes, we have machine learning, and we have more components to it than just LLMs. So just think about AI in a more, in a broader scope, and don't get too fixated on LLMs. Obviously, the fun is the interface part, but there's a lot of work happening in the background. There's, cleaning up and capturing the right data so that maybe in the future you can
Yeah.
enable anything with LLMs to get,
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Enrique. It's LLMs are a interface for most people, more so than like a novel technology. Ultimately, like it's basically the same idea as machine learning, predictive machine learning at scale, except with words, right?
yeah,
And what the compute does is it better than any super genius is recognizes the patterns
yeah,
in data sets, whether those data sets are words or attributes of a prospective student that might be likely to convert. The key thing is to give them the context that they need to know what good looks like. So
yeah.
whether it's words through a chat GPT or perplexity interface or large scale machine learning lead scoring at scale, it's the same core idea. Dan, thank you
Definitely.
so much for the comment here. Sounds like you've had some of the similar expertise that we've had in terms of using better conversion signals to make PMax work. And then I see a follow-up question here. Can your platform guarantee that value-based bidding works with smaller conversion volumes, or we need a certain threshold for PMax to succeed? Great question. Great question. And this is actually something that the tool set that we're talking about really enables. So if you are just using like a conversion, maximize conversion bid strategy, Google will tell you that you need 15 conversions in 30 days for that to work. That is crap. You need way more than that. You will fail. You will not do well if you're trying to, to maximize or to use a conversion or use a bid strategy like that on a low volume conversion action. The neat thing about what Enrique is talking about and what we're talking about is instead of trying to optimize towards a down funnel conversion where we have less volume. So let's say, those 15 were 15 enrollments or 15 applications. Uh, Having a scoring model allows us to essentially predict the quality of a much larger universe of leads and say, hey, this is not, we don't know if this one's going to convert or not, but it's worth, 120 versus this one, which is worth 80. And basically, it allows you to expand the universe and do that in real time. So you're doing two things. You're both creating a lot more data by taking that lead scoring and then applying it on every single conversion that comes in rather than just the ones that apply or enroll. And it also removes the weight, the lag effect of if you're trying to optimize towards an offline conversion that is, days or weeks away, that handicaps the algorithm versus real time. This was the score, this was the prediction, and then you fine tune that prediction model over time. Anything you want to add to that, Enrique?
No, I think you did a great job. It's like I said before, the more data you have, the more likely you are to have, to identify different patterns and have an expertise on your audience. There is no, at least on our side, no preset, threshold. But if you can have more data, it's obviously going to be easier to understand and to be more effective on the conversions.
So a follow-up question there, Enrique, on how quickly the weights change. So I think this is a two-parter, but if you want to talk about how quickly or how the updates work um, on the actual lead scoring side, and then I can talk about how the bid strategy context dynamics work in addition to that.
Sure, let me just check the question here. Sure. In terms of a timeline, I'm not sure how quickly it does adapt to your optimized campaigns. I would say it's almost instantly. In terms of changing the weight, there's a bit of a manual process on that, but it's on our side. If you're implementing and using us, our team can help you with that. Again, it's not going to be super time consuming. We can turn that in a matter of days. But that's it. We're not doing that automatically yet. You need some lift on our side.
And then ROAS and CPA targets similar in the ad platform. So requires manual input, but that's a quick change and something that we would strive to do same day. Those are the types of actions that still are require. Those are the humans in the loop type decisions that are incredibly important and incredibly impactful if you want to tune, test into the right configuration of TROAS or whatever you're going for. It's not something that should just be sort of thrown at the dartboard. All right, one more here. How does your AI ensure that conversion tracking is clean and trustworthy? Meaning, does it integrate well with GA4 and offline conversions?
Uh, No worries. No, I love the questions. I'm not familiar, to be honest, with GA4, but the way to ensure that the data is trustworthy and clean is basically we're getting data from first-party data. We're getting that directly from the students, from the prospects, and so this is the way that we use to ensure everything is clean. It's trustworthy. It's basically first-party data, so you're getting straight from the source. There is no, I would say, trash data in that sense.
And what we do, so that's on the first party data side. What our predictive value-based bidding solution does is it actually ties in, or it can tie in that web conversion data stream. So the GA4 data or other sort of on-page conversion or activity data, and use that as part of the bidding signal as well. Any other questions? Cool. We'll we'll add you, Dan. Thanks for the great engagement. If anyone else has any questions, we want to give another moment, and then we'll say au revoir.
I think we're actually time here, but we can, if there's any other questions.
Nobody ever minded getting 15 minutes back for a 1 hour block. All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the engagement, the time. You can connect with us. Oh, you know what?
We have the
Actually, yeah.
workbook, right?
Can you, Rishik, can you pull up the slides again? We've got a special offer here. A little bit more information if you want it. So two things. We'll pause on this and then we'll pause on the last slide. So if you are interested in understanding how your brand, your school's ad platforms are configured to be ready for this AI powered moment that we're in, scan this or click the link that Jarrett just dropped in the chat. And this will take you to a landing page that allows you to request this AI powered performance marketing audit. We look at 15 different dynamics around how your data is organized, your creative and content streams work, and mainly and most importantly, how your media and measurement tools are set up. And we will do an audit along those lines and share that with you. So that's one. Thank you for sharing that. And the link there is in the chat. And then Rishik, next slide. I'll let you do a similar plug here, Enrique, on the LeadSquared tool set perspective.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. First of all, everyone, thanks for joining. It was a pleasure again, Pat, to be here with you. It's always a lot of learning and good insights. Joining those webinars with you. And for everyone, if you'd like to find out what these kinds of numbers that we just shared could look like for your school, you can scan this code here and chat. To book a chat with us. I'm happy to jump into a call or having someone from our team to also talk to you.
Cool. No pressure, but either of those links, good things will happen. All right. I think that's it. You can hit the wrap up slide. You can leave it. There we go. Thank you all so much. Appreciate your time. I will, if anyone is interested in connecting with Enrique or I on LinkedIn, please find us. We post content there. And we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.